Let's talk about life, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the truth and consciousness. Divinity. Let's talk about God. Let's talk about love. Welcome to Spiritual Nerd, and I'm your host, Ninette Terhart, and today we are geeking out with Seta T. Welcome, Seta.
Thank you, Ninette. It's good to be here.
Great to see you. I'd love to share just a little bit about you. Seta is a transformational pioneer in color and light energy medicine. Her passion is to help people awaken to their true selves with their own healing abilities, gifts, and innate talents. Through her unique mystical combination of transformational modalities, she can expertly support stressed individuals in releasing pain and suffering while finding the road to joy and fulfillment. That sounds good to me, I'm telling you. Now, I've heard, this is the first time we're meeting, I've heard some wonderful things about you from Karen. So it's really nice to hear these things. And what I'd love to do, Seta, is say, hey, welcome. And I would love you to share some of the highlights of your journey to this path.
Wow. Well, I'll start by saying that color has always been a part of my life. I have worked with color literally since I was a baby. So it's something that I was born doing and didn't really realize it was a thing, until much, much later. But my dad always used to say to me that, I started speaking very young, and I was speaking fully by the age of 6 months. So, but color was the thing. Like my dad would always say to me that, I was so focused on color and I always could see the nuances in color. So like if he pointed to something turquoise and called it blue, I would correct him at the age of 1. So it's always been a thing that I've seen. I've always seen the difference in color. I've always seen the impact that it makes, and I see the patterns it creates. Well, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do with that. So I went on my life just like normal people would. And I went to college and I got a job and I had businesses, and none of them really had a lot to do with color until I was older. I had a jewelry business for years because I was also drawn to crystals. And I thought, well, that's the way, that I could work with them. And that wasn't the way. And I'm originally from New Jersey. I moved to Denver 10 years ago. But it was always a calling to move to Denver. Ever since I was a kid, I knew I needed to be here. So when I did move here, this was where I found these different modalities that were color-based. And I was interested in them, and I started to, become certified in them. And in doing so, what I tell people is it was kind of my remembering, because it allowed me to see what innately I have, the gifts that I have innately. So what I do now is kind of a combination of what I've learned with these various modalities and what I bring to the table from within. Wow. And what makes my approach a little bit different, aside from the fact that it is completely mine, nobody's doing what I'm doing because I've created this. Mm. When I work with my clients, I don't proclaim that I'm a healer. I don't proclaim that I can fix everything. I truly believe, and based on my experiences, that the only way to truly heal is for you to do it yourself, because we are all born with that capability. It's all there, but the soul has to be ready. And a lot of times when clients come to me, I can see like their souls are up here somewhere. They're not connected. And when we're not connected, we can't do what it is we need to do. So part of my job is getting people reconnected. And then when they're here and they're working with me, we find a way for them to actually feel what's going on within. And when they're on my table and we're doing the work, they're working with me. Yeah. And that's what makes the work powerful, and that's what makes the work last. Because I'm sure you and anybody else who's watching has stories of how they've gone and they've spent time and money and everything else working with somebody, and then 6 months later, they're right back to where they are. And that's because when you're allowing somebody else to do the work for you, it's temporary. You have to continue to work. Yeah. So the people who come and they work with me, they're ready. and they, you know, they get homework and they get all kinds of things. It's not, you don't come in here for a couple hours and leave and, you know, and that's it. You get homework and it's continuous.
So now when you do sessions, so you have to work with the person physically. It's definitely can you do anything online with them or?
I can. Yeah, I can. It's just that there are certain things I will do online. There are certain things I won't, simply because the work that I'm doing is so deep. And you can ask anybody who's worked with me, when they get up off my table, they're not in their body. And I've had people take an hour to come back. So I don't like to do that kind of work with somebody online, because they're not there for me to see and help come back. And I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to take on that responsibility.
Right.
And for that reason, there are certain things I will not do online. But there are certain things that I can do online.
So Seta, you said something interesting. You said sometimes, you know, they're not in their body. So someone who's watching that doesn't really understand that kind of concept, can you explain a little more?
I can try. So part of my gift is that I feel and I hear. I don't really see, but that's the only word that I know how to use to explain what I'm saying. So it's literally like, okay, I can give you an example of a client. About a year ago, I had somebody call me, and she was going through an intense grief situation. Somebody she was very, very close to was about to pass, and it was unexpected. And she was completely beside herself. And she said that for 3 days, she hadn't been able to function. And I said to her, well, why didn't you call me sooner? And she said, honestly, she said, I couldn't even function enough to think to call you. You know, that's like how out of it she was. So I moved some things around to get her in that day. And literally when she walked into my office, it was like a part of her was up here. Her eyes were empty. He just wasn't there. And even though I couldn't see that it was up here, I could feel it. Mm-hmm. But like I said, that's the word I use, is I can see it. She was completely just disconnected. That's the word. And so she came in, she was here probably for about 3 hours. We did some intense work. And to this day, she says to me, I don't know how I would have functioned if it weren't for you. Because she was able to then travel and go and be with this family member and be there for the last week of his life, basically. And not only was she able to work through it, but she was able to be a support to other family members. Yeah. So for her, that was a huge, huge thing, because she just couldn't function. And that's an extreme example. But if you look around, at least I can see, you know, people are walking down the street and they're just disconnected. You know, we see people very addicted to social media. It's one of the things I do work with. You know, I mean, last Sunday I had to go somewhere and I walked, and it was about a mile walk. And I can't, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that in that walk, I passed probably 30 people, and all 30 of them were like this in their phones. They're not cognizant of what's going on around them, and they're not connected to what's going on around them. And that will reverberate throughout your life and through what you're doing. So it's really about getting people back and connected to their soul purpose so they can function.
Now, what would you suggest, you know, if you're working with a client, just like a little something for someone who's listening, what would be a nice practice to become more cognizant? That's something that you work with.
Well, one of the things I've created is something called a color wash. And I am somebody that finds it hard to meditate. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, as much as I say we need to take time for ourselves and go within and all of that, I don't have the time and I don't have the ability to focus an hour or an hour and a half to sit there and, you know, try and go within. I don't have it. And I know that there are a lot of people like that out there in the world. So that led me to create these color washes. And what they are literally between 5 and 7 minutes. When you work with me, one of the things intuitively I will get is what color you are lacking and what color you need to work with. So I work with, I would say about 12 colors in general. You know, and there's going to be different hues and shades, but these are the basic colors that I work with. And so if we determine, let's say that you need turquoise, I would send you the turquoise color wash, and you can do those. And like I said, they're between 5 and 7 minutes, depending. And you can do them in the morning or you can do them in the evening. And it's literally about washing both inside and out with that color. You bring it in from above and you let it wash through you. And when it exits out your body, what I ask the client is, notice what it looks like. You know, did it change color? Did it change the texture? Did it become thicker? Did it become thinner? I mean, looking to see what exits from your body is just as important. That's going to make a difference. And my clients tell me it does make a difference. So there are very simple things we can do. And there are a lot of people who are very busy, you know, people running around. That's kind of become our society. Mm-hmm. But you can do it laying in bed at night as you're falling asleep.
Right.
So.
Okay, so now you cut out a bit. So I sort of heard you, but just for people that were listening. So when you're washing it through, you're saying, have them see, is it getting thicker, thinner? Is it changing texture? Because that's what was getting cut out. I just want to go over that one more time.
Yeah, so when it exits your body, that's when you want to pay attention to that, to see if it changed. And if it changed, depending on how it changed, that'll tell us a few things. There are things that you need to get rid of. So I encourage the client to continue to do it until it exits the way that it came in. And as you continue to do this on a daily basis, you're going to find that you only need to do it for a couple of minutes, because now it's about bringing you back into balance. That's really what it's all about. I mean, color, I use numerology in my work. So color, numbers, all of these are frequency.
Yes.
Some people relate to sound. Again, it's frequency. It's just about getting you back into balance. We are energy beings made up of color and light. So if our colors are out of balance, we're out of balance. That's as simple as I can put it.
Well, something else you said very interestingly to me is, you know, doing the washes. It's really having the individual go inward. It's just another way.
Yeah.
Of going in and paying attention.
But it's 5 minutes of your time.
Right.
So, and it's effective.
And you're not using the visual eye, you're using the spiritual eye.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. So now if someone were to want to do something online, because, you know, there's so many people that, you know, would love to do something like this, but they're not in Denver. What sort of, do you think it would be as powerful?
Yes, it can be as powerful because, again, it's frequency. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting right next to me or if you're on the other side of the planet.
Got it.
You know, it's frequency, so it's immediate. So depending on what it is they want to do, my sessions are very customized.
Okay.
I can have 2 people contact me and say, you know, I'm having chronic knee pain, and they're going to get 2 completely different sessions because it's not about the knee pain. I don't tell people that I can fix you physically because I don't work on the physical. But sometimes when we have physical pain, there's an emotional or spiritual component behind it. That's what I look at. Right. So just because 2 people have knee pain doesn't mean the cause is the same. No. So for somebody to contact me and to work with me online, I would have to sit and talk to them and find out what's going on first. And then we would look at how we can address it. So I use color, I use crystals, I use light, I use tools of color. And so the meditations would be part of it more than likely.
Right. Okay. And then you give them some homework.
I give them homework. I also work with the archangels very closely. So intuitively, I will get which archangels will come in and support you. So I will also tell them how they can work with that. And then I have some tools to support that as well.
And would the best way for people to get a hold of you is through your website and Facebook?
Website, Facebook, I have an Instagram page, I have a LinkedIn page. So any of those, absolutely. And my email is on my website as well.
Okay, well, I'll definitely put that all in the video. And it was something else I wanted to ask you, Seta, while I have you here. When did you start to really, I mean, was this something that started to unfold for you when you started?
Yes.
Okay. That's
yes, I'm going to say probably about 15 years ago, I started having weird symptoms. I don't know how else to describe them, physical symptoms. And they were things that were not life-threatening, but they were enough to know that I knew something was wrong. And I tried everything. I tried doctors, I tried alternative practitioners, and nobody could figure it out. And they would all just kind of send me on my way and go, there's nothing wrong with you. And I knew that wasn't true. So this was when I was still in Jersey, it started. And I had also recently gone through a divorce. And I call my divorce my awakening, because I feel like it put me more on my spiritual path. So all of that culminated in my move here. And then when I moved here, I came here, I had no family here, I had no friends here, I didn't even have a job. I just came because I felt pushed and guided to come. And when I came here, I started to do things a little bit differently. And it was about a year after I moved here that I discovered Aura-Soma, which is a form of color therapy. And that's kind of what put me on this path. And it was interesting because I discovered Aura-Soma in 2010. In 2011, I got into a very serious car accident. And how I walked away from it, I don't know, because I literally did walk away from it, but it caused a lot of internal stuff, which compounded the mystery symptoms. Oh. And so what happened was in 2012, I don't do Western medicine. I just don't. It's not my thing. So after the car accident, I worked with energy healers, I worked with chiropractors, I worked with massage therapists, acupuncture, all of that. And all of it helped me, but it only got me to about 70%. And what would happen was I would go see my massage therapist and I would feel great. And then 2 days later, it was like I would just slide back into that spot that I was in. It wasn't permanent. So right around that time is when I took my level 1 Aura-Soma class. And at the time, because I didn't know anything else, I used some Aura-Soma products on myself. And I ended up taking those products to my massage therapist and showing her how to use them on me during the massage. Mm-hmm. And I did this for 3 months. And I went within and I worked with archangels and a whole bunch of things. And within 3 months, I was at 100%. And the only thing different I did was work with color. So I knew there was something there. I knew it. There had to be. And then from there, I started applying it to these other mystery symptoms and everything else. And that's what got me out of it. And that's what got me to see that there is so much more going on with us than just the physical.
So I love that these mystery symptoms actually were guiding you to expand.
Yeah.
Awesome opportunity.
Yeah. And it also taught me to listen because I found that, again, no matter who I was working with, whether it was a Western doctor or a holistic practitioner, when they couldn't figure out what was going on with me, rather than say to me, Seta, I don't know, they would try to put me into a box. And I knew when that was happen, and I knew I was done. So it was, again, time and money I spent and I got nowhere. So I'm very, my clients will tell you I'm a little bit of a pain because I do really stay on top of them. And if I do ever feel like I can't help, or if we've gotten to a point where, I need to refer them to somebody else, I will gladly do that. It's never about me. It's always about the client. Yeah. And I learned that from what happened with me, because I went through a lot of money and a lot of time.
Yeah. And isn't that interesting how, things can happen around you, but until it is personalized on this plane, do we reach for those what is there? What can I do? You kind of go, what? Right?
Yep. Yep. Until it impacts your life, we don't do anything.
No.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping to kind of rein people in before that happens.
I think it's wonderful. Wow. I'm getting chills when you're talking about stuff. I just think I really feel the energy, and it's fantastic. I love it. Well, listen, Seta, I just want to finish up here and say thank you so much. I could talk to you forever. I just love all this stuff. And maybe I'm going to have a little session online.
I think you should.
Sounds awesome. Well, listen, I am going to put all your info on the bottom.
Okay.
And we'll be able to get hold of you. And thank you again. I just love it.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I had fun.
Oh, it's fantastic. And then you can share it with, everybody once it's posted.
I absolutely will. As soon as it's ready, I will do that.
Thank you so much, Seta. I really appreciate your time, and congrats just on being on this plane and really expressing who you are and helping so many other seemingly separated beings. I really appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you, my dear. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you. I hope so.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Well, I want to thank Seta so much for her time and energy, and that was a very cool interview. So I hope you enjoyed that, everyone watching, and I look forward to the next time when we be geeking out with you.
Let's talk about life, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the truth.